Hello to this session of reviewing IGCSE questions. We're going to solve some questions related to IGCSE. Let me see if I can see the chat here. Okay, I can see that here is the chat. Let's put the chat here at some place that I can see. Everything's working here. I hope you can listen to me properly. We're going to solve some questions of IGCSE. This is the goal of today's session, and this is what we're going to do during today's activity. So we're going to see a few questions because I'm starting late. I thought that I could start at 6 p.m., but I start at 7:15 p.m., but there's no problem. We're going to work on them, and we're going to start with this question. And this is kind of a similar question that we observe in many questions that I have seen to prepare IGCSE. I check that these type of questions may be observed. What I mean with these type of questions, I mean with questions in which you feel or you think actually. And sometimes I couldn't find the answer because of that, because you feel that there is no complete information to answer the questions. And in this case, so we have to work out the area of this trapezium. I don't have my pad. Let's see if I can connect my pad here. Okay, yeah. And it says that we need to work out the area of the trapezium, but I don't have this length. Now, if you want to work out the area of the trapezium, you just need to remember that the area of the trapezium, depending on both bases and the height. So in this case is major plus minor base over 2 times height. And now, so we need to find out which are the bases. So the bases are the parallel lines. This is a parallel line with this one. So these two are the bases. The minor base is 72 millimeters, and we don't know the major base. And the height is going to be this 180 millimeters. Now the question is, how could I find the base? How could I find the base? So what you can do to find out the base is to understand that this is like a rectangle, and here we can separate this into a triangle and a rectangle. This should be a right triangle, and this length that is here, so it's going to be 180 millimeters. This length that is here is the minor base, 72 millimeters, and now I gotta find this length here. I'm going to call it x. So I know that the major base is just 72 plus x. This is what I need to do to find out the area of the trapezium. So now first I'm going to find out this value of x and how to find this value of x. So now it becomes simple because you just need to apply Pythagoras theorem because you have a right triangle here. So I'm going to apply Pythagoras theorem. Okay, so the Pythagoras theorem is the one we're going to apply. So just remember the Pythagoras theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. In this case, one leg is going to be 180 millimeters, the other is going to be x, so I'm going to write x squared plus 180 millimeters to the second power equal to the hypotenuse, that is going to be 204 millimeters to the second power. So I just need to solve for x. I'm going to solve for x. Subtract 180 squared, so 204 squared minus 180 squared, and x is going to be just the square root of this operation here. Mister, can I just operate and solve and simplify before I work out the solution? Of course you can. You can just get the squares here. So So x squared plus, I'm gonna need a calculator here. I don't have a calculator by hand, so I'm going to use a calculator here. So it says 180 to the second power, 32,400 equal to 204 to the second power, 41,616. So you can just subtract. X squared equals 41,000. Let's put it another color. So minus 32,400 minus 32,400. So 41,616 minus 32,400. I'm gonna get 9,000. I'm gonna get 9,216. And finally, I just can get the square root of 9,216. Remember that here we can have two options, positive or negative, but these are distances, so it will be only positive. So the x is going to be the square root of this. Square root of 9,216. It's 96. Okay, so this distance is 96. So if this distance is 96, I just need to apply that the major base is 72 millimeters plus 96 millimeters. So the major base is 6 and 2, 8, 9 and 7, 16, 168 millimeters. So I have the major base 168 and I have the other values here of my trapezium. So I'm going to convert to calculate. So the area of the trapezium is going to be 168 millimeters. I'm going to put the units because I know that everything is in millimeters, plus 72 millimeters divided by 2 times height, 180 millimeters. You can, for example, simplify here. If you want to avoid a lot of calculations, divided 1, this will be 90. If you want, you can just get the addition, 8 and 2, 10. I'm going to move a little bit down so you can see. 8 and 2, 10. 7 and 7, 14. 214 times 90. And the area, so you're just going to have 2 zeros. 9 times 4, 36. 9 times 2, 18. And 3, 21. 21,600 square millimeters. This is going to be the area of my trapezium. So look at that, this type of questions is going to apply a lot of algebraic terms, a lot of different type of topics. This is why it's 5 marks, because it's going to use Pythagoras theorem. You have to use the formula of the area, and you have to know how to solve equations. So you have a lot of marks here because of that. Okay. Oh, you cannot see the marks because my face doesn't let you see the marks. Now you can see the marks. Okay. So this is how you can get the solution of this. Oh my God, I was just checking. Okay, yes, 21,600. It's correct. Okay, so it requires a lot of working here, and this is why this is this is some types of exercises that they ask you in IGCSE that have a lot of marks, because obviously you're going to use a lot of topics in both. Let's see another question about IGCSE. We're going to work on 2 or 3 today, just for today. And now to go with let's go with this question. This question is easy. Remember that it says not to scale in these shapes, so you cannot use your ruler to calculate anything. So you cannot use your ruler. You cannot say, okay, this is 15. If I measure this and this length is 5 centimeters, so I'm going to draw the scale. You cannot do that if it says not to scale. If it says not to scale, it's telling you, no, we want you to use computations, calculations. In this case, trigonometric ratios. The diagram shows a right angle triangle, ABC. You can see it here. AC is 15 centimeters. Typical of IGCSE questions is that they tell you in the information, they tell you what you can see. And an angle of BAC 38 degrees. BAC of 38 degrees. BAC means that opens in this direction, but okay, in this case doesn't matter, but just for you to know. 38. Calculate BC. So the question is to find this length. This is the length we gotta find. Now to find it, in this case, we have a right triangle, we have one angle, and we have one leg. The hypotenuse. So we can use SOHCAHTOA. Remember that there's a video in my tube about SOHCAHTOA. That is sine, cosine, and tangent. So in this case, I have the angle, so it means that I can calculate the sine of the angle, the cosine of the angle, and the tangent of the angle. I don't have the opposite, but it's the question that they want me to know. And I have the hypotenuse. So I have the hypotenuse. So in this case, according to SOHCAHTOA, the term that we can use is sine. So we're going to use sine to calculate BC. So it means that sine of 38 degrees is going to be the opposite, so BC, over the hypotenuse, that is 15 centimeters. Now I just need to solve for BC. So multiply by 15 here, 15 centimeters times sine of 38 degrees equals BC, and use your calculator. Observe that in this case, and this is a suggestion that I want to give you when you work on IGCSE questions, is to use the calculator only at the end. Try to use the calculator. The less you use the calculator, the better for you to get marks. Because sometimes if you put only the answer, maybe they wouldn't allow you total marks. Maybe they will allow you total marks, it's okay. But maybe if your question is wrong, if your answer is wrong, maybe you typed wrong in your calculator, maybe you're not gonna get partial marks. For example, let's say that here you get a partial mark for showing this part. Let's say that you got 1 mark for showing this part. So it means that you're not gonna get the mark if you just put the answer. So let's find it. Sine of 38 degrees. 9.23. So I'm going to put 9.23 centimeters. So this is how simple you can work on these type of questions regarding IGCSE questions. Look at, in this case, the IGCSE shows you the units, so you don't need to think of the units. In some questions, you need to be careful because in some questions, the units need to be changed. So you need to verify when the question ask you to change the units. So in this case, we need to use other types of units. So you need to be careful with that, but it's okay. It's okay for now. Now let's finish with one question of I forgot what was the question I was trying to. Okay, it's this one. This one is the question I was wondering to work on. Typical questions of vectors. When you solve questions with vectors, we're going to see this question is extended version of vectors. Maybe the first not, but the B and C, they are. So we're going to see A, B, C, and that's it. So A. We gotta find 3a minus 2b, so we have the vectors here, so you just need to replace, right? So I'm going to, hey, mister. So 3a, that is negative 3, 2, minus 2b, 5, 4. Remember that when you multiply a vector times a constant, so you need to multiply each component by the vector. But each component of the vector by the constant. So 3 times negative 3 is minus 9. 3 times 2 is 6. Minus, I prefer, some people multiply the negative sign here, but then they got like a lot of mistake with the positive here. So I prefer to multiply just the constant without the sign and keep the sign here. But you can do it the other way. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 4 is 8. Okay? Now I just need to simplify this expression. Minus 9 minus 10 is minus 18, minus 19. And 6 minus 8 is minus 2. Okay? So I'm just going to review that I did it correct, because sometimes you made mistakes. So 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. 3 times 2 is 6. Negative 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 4 is 8. And now minus 9. Minus 10 minus 19. 6 minus 8 minus 2. Okay? So that's it. So the answer is minus 19 minus 2. Then in the next it says find the magnitude of A. We gotta find the magnitude of A. So if I want to find the magnitude of A, I need to use the formula for the magnitude. So magnitude of A is the square root of the components to the second power. So in this case, minus 3 to the second power plus 2 to the second power. Now remember that this negative sign is inside a parenthesis, so if you raise it to the second power, you're gonna get positive answer. So 9 plus 4. So it means that in this case, we're gonna write the square root of 13. Okay? So A is the square root of 13. Now, I have here a situation that it says find A, but it doesn't say that express your answer as assert. So as it doesn't say that express my answer as assert, it means that I can use my calculator. So I'm going to use the calculator to get the square root of 13 and round it to, I'm going to round it to three significant figures. So the answer of the calculator gives me 0.55. So 3 significant figures will be first 2, 3 significant figures here. And this is a 5, so it becomes 1. 3.61. So you already have the magnitude of the vector A. The magnitude of the vector A is calculated using the formula that it's similar to the Pythagoras theorem. If you know how to draw vectors in the Cartesian plane, you will observe that you're just doing triangles, and this formula is just the Pythagoras theorem, and it applies for any dimension. I mean, vectors in any dimensions. And finally, and this is the part of that I really love, that I wanted to show you, it's the part in which they put you an equation, MA plus NB equals C, and you have to write down 2 simultaneous equations and solve them to find the value of M and the value of N. And you have to show all your work. So you gotta find the value of M and N if you start with this. So I'm just going to write M times A plus N times B. This should be equals to C. So I'm going up. A is negative 3, 2. B is 5, 4. And C is 14, 9. Now this says write down 2 simultaneous equations. It means that it's possible to convert this into 2 simultaneous equations. What are the simultaneous equations? So the equation that becomes from the component X and the equation that comes from the component in Y. So I'm just going to write it. I'm just going to write it. So m times negative 3 is going to be 3m plus n times 5 is going to be 5n equals 14, and 2 times m plus 4 times n equals 9. So this is our system of equations that you gotta solve to find out the values of m and n. So we just need to solve the system of equations. How to solve the system of equations? You choose the best way you want. The best way you want. The best you want it. Which one I prefer? I prefer to do elimination. So I'm just going to multiply the first equation times 2 and the second equation times 3. So I convert these coefficients into 6 and negative 6. So I'm just going to multiply. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6m plus 2 times 5, that is 10n, equals 14 times 2, that is 26. And now with 3 times 2 is 6m plus 3 times 4, that is 12n, equals 3 times 9, that is 27. Okay, I already have my structure. I just need to simplify, just need to add these two. Let me verify that I don't have any sign mistake. Okay, the only negative is with A. Good. So I'm just going to add that 10 and 12 is going to be 22n equals 27 plus 26 is going to be 7 and 6, 13. 2, 4, 53. So it means that n is going to be 53 over 22. 53 over 22. There's no 6 and 7, 13. Oh, sorry, I multiply, of course. Okay, I just made a mistake here multiplying. Correct, because it's 2 times 4, 18, not 26 but 28. Now 8 and 7, 15. 2 and 2, 5, so it's 55 over 22. I can simplify 55 over 22. It's going to be divided by 11 is going to be 5 halves, correct? Yes, so n is going to be 5 halves. Now at this point you have two options. You can use elimination again, or you can use substitution. I'm going to use substitution in the second equation. Why in the second equation? Because the denominator is 2 and the second equation n is multiplied by 4. So I'm going to rid of the fraction. So 2m plus, so in second equation. So plus 4 times 5 over 2 equals 9. So this means that I'm gonna get 2m plus, so I can simplify here. This 2 becomes 1, this 4 becomes 2, 2 times 5 becomes 10, equals 9. Subtract 10 on both sides, so you're gonna get 2m equals minus 1, and m is gonna give you negative 1 half. So I have my two answers. M is negative 1 half, and n is going to be 5 halves. I don't like this 5. I'm gonna rewrite it. So 5 halves. And this is how you get the answer of the system of equations. If you want to test it, test it. It's good sometimes to test the solution. I'm just gonna do it very quickly with the first equation. So if n is negative 1 half, I'm gonna get this as 3 halves positive, plus 5 times 5, 25 halves, equals 14. 25 and 3 is 28 halves. That is 14. Yes, it's correct. Okay, and here you have the answer. Look at that, the number of marks of this, the number of marks, I cannot see the number of marks. Oh yes, but you can see it. The number of marks of This question is 5 marks. It's a lot of marks. Why it's 5 marks? Because you have to do a lot of stuff. You need to know about how to multiply vectors by constants. You need to know how to provide a system of equations. And you need to show how to solve a system of equations. This is why it's 5 marks, this question. Okay, everybody. And that's it. These are the questions that we have for practice today for IGCSE. Send me your comments, send me your questions of IGCSE so we can prepare them for the next Monday. And in the next Monday, I will solve them here in the YouTube channel. See you in the next video, and bye-bye. Enjoy your day. See you. Thanks a lot.